Welcome to NCAS-M, students, scientists, and stakeholders, where you will learn all there is to know about NCAS-M. I am your host and current NCAS-M fellow, Camryn Billett. We are a student-led podcast designed to help you explore all educational and career opportunities available here at NOAA through NCAS-M. On this podcast, you'll hear stories and conversations from students about their current and past experiences working here. You'll get to understand our mission and hopefully come join us. Today, we are joined by Tisha Copeland, who is a current student at Howard University here in Washington, D.C. Tish and I spent about a week together when we participated in the NCAS-M summer internship program. Hi, Tish, and welcome to the show.
How you doing, Camryn?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you came. So just before we get started, I just think the audience should know, what is your major and when are you graduating?
My major, I'm a sociology major, English and Latin minor, and I'm graduating December 2021.
Sociology major, English and Latin minor.
Yes.
Okay. So my question to you is, how does that fit in NOAA? Because we did the NCAS-M summer internship program. So I just want to know, how did you first hear about NOAA? And then how did you decide to get involved based on your major?
Oh yeah, like I said, I'm a sociology major, and in my major, I had a mentor. Her name's Yasmin Allen, and she was very close with a professor in the department, Dr. Terry Adams. And as her taking like me under her wing, she introduced me to Dr. Adams, and Dr. Adams has a cohort of graduate students, and yeah, it was very interesting. I was very and one of my TAs was actually one of her grad students. So it was just like really connection wise. I was really interested in Dr. Adams's project and the several different projects that her grad students had coming on. So just like constant communication with her, um, I ended up finding out about the NCAS-M internship and decided to apply. And from there, really took me from having a NOAA, developing a NOAA project for myself, and then being able to work with Dr. Adams on her own several NOAA projects, and then her personal projects with her grad students.
So let me ask you, what were some of the projects or the main project that Dr. Adams was working on that piqued your interest?
Oh, she was working at the time, she was doing studies on hurricanes and emergency managers. And the it was it's called like risk aversion and risk perception, and it looks at how people respond and how emergency managers are communicating weather storms, weather patterns, and like developing hurricanes at the time. So she had a bunch, like several of her students were doing work on Katrina. Another student was doing work on simply just risk aversion and what the cognitive and psychological effects were of when you have to make a certain decision given in a certain circumstance. Another one of her graduate students was working on just like the types of effective communication, whether on written word or news broadcasting or surveys or just different types of tactics that newscasters and emergency managers in NOAA or the National Weather Service, whatever type of medium they were looking at the time, was putting out information for their audiences or constituents to, receive. And it was really interesting. And then that developed gave me interest to look at um, my personal project was I looked at opportunity zones in Puerto Rico following Hurricane Maria and Irma in 2017, which was just gave me a different type of socio-political look at the funds and um, means of distribution of resources and aid that Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands received following um, Hurricane Maria and Hurricane Irma.
So that sounds really cool. And it sounds like your internship was mainly communications. But for me, and just for the
Yes.
audience out there, could you explain exactly what sociology is?
Well, sociology can mean and can be described as many things when you come into the academy, I think. And but however, sociology is really the study on societies, how societal relations, community. However, and so kind of like as me being trained in sociology, I have had this very interdisciplinary um, understanding of of the field of sociology, whether it's environmental sociology, communications, just social psychology, social development and things like that. So there's so many aspects in kind of specifics in certain fields and under the realm umbrella of sociology that are all just effective in one situation, such as like when a hurricane is coming. So it's psychology, it's sociology, it's communications, it's political science, it's environmentalism, all in one.
So it's all of those things, and all of those
Yeah,
things, a lot of people have a perception that NOAA, National Oceanic Atmospheric Agency, is just really about the sciences. It's about just the ocean, the atmosphere, physics, biology, chemistry, just the scientific disciplines. But what I think people often forget is that, okay, we have the science, but how do we communicate this important information? How do we get people to trust this important information? And especially like, with COVID and everything, a communications team full of sociology majors, mass communication majors, psychology majors, et cetera, is definitely something that I feel like could have been utilized more, especially during the Trump
exactly,
administration, to just better communicate the scientific aspect of the disease and how we as a nation and as a world should have responded to it.
exactly. And I think on the flip side of just communication is the research that's behind it. So I think a lot of people just kind of overlook that there's actually people who are doing studies on, doing case studies and surveys on specific towns, specific cities, trying to put together something to put out to this new source of information to, the public. And if the research is not valid or seen to kind of adhere to this certain narrative that the public wants to hear, then that's where it kind of just like it makes communication hard and it makes communication not ineffective in a way because you're not really putting out what needs to be said and what people really need to hear. But I definitely agree with you.
In terms of like diversity and catering to like all communities, I think that one, it's doing a good job, but two, it's definitely going to expand in the future. Because for me, like you said, this
Exactly.
is this was my first internship as well, and I did not expect to see so many different faces
Hmm.
at my
It
place.
was it was beautiful. It was so great. Like, and just like our team over at NOAA is so diverse. Like we work with Dr. Leticia Williams. She's and Dr. Stroman. There are communications you know experts, and Dr. Adams and I and her other grad students, are sociology based, but she's also working with other physics and other type of systems design, CI people, systems designs, and it's just such a collaborative and everybody's just in different disciplines working together for this cause, and we all look different, we all come from different places, and Noah is just I just feel like Noah's responsible for bringing us all together.
Definitely. And like when you know that you have certain faces behind the scenes, it ensures that there isn't like a single community left out because you always get the perspective from a different member of a different community.
Yes, yes, for sure.
So your projects sound very interesting. They just sound like you're going to change the world and you're going to do big things. I have a question for you. Before we started, you told me that you're actually graduating early in
Yes.
December 2022.
No,
And I just want to know,
21 this year, at the end of this year.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Okay.
December 2021, 2022 would have been a little late, but that's okay. You're graduating in December 2021. And I just want to know if one, you saw yourself having a future here at NOAA, And two, if not, what are your plans post grad and how has NOAA shaped that?
Yeah, no, I really didn't think I would be in this position thinking about graduate schools and PhD programs and things like that. Honestly, first of all, first and foremost, just being around Dr. Adams and her graduate team so early, that was just my first kind of experience with just like, oh, these are Black people getting their PhDs. These are, they're going to be experts in their fields. They're producing new knowledge. They have just inspired me beyond. I just they're my village is what I call them because they're just amazing. But like I said, and so just kind of turning myself into a researcher has put me forth, into Mellon, and Mellon has, shaped me in a way that I have. I'm thinking about graduate school and becoming a professor and working in the academy and kind of seeing myself as one of them, one of these people who are inspiring and shedding light to my own personal research topics. Like I want to pursue go well get after post grad. I'm gonna take my little gap semester for the spring, but in the fall of 22, I hope to be enrolling into a PhD program in social policy or sociology, just as my field. Um, a couple. I want to apply to Howard, of course, and keep working with Dr. Adams, but directly. But I think maybe going to UMD or Georgetown or Duke, Northwestern, they all have great sociology programs and or social policy programs that I'm very interested in. And so, yeah, those are my plans. Post grad, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind being at either any of those schools. So
That is exciting. Hearing everything that you have planned makes me really hopeful for the future.
thank you.
Anybody here, anybody that I've interviewed or talked to here at NCAS-M that's an intern or a fellow, I will just say that the future is in good hands.
Yes,
The next generation, they doubt us sometimes, but the next generation, we have goals, we have aspirations, and we're willing to put the work in to make this world a better place. And it's really making me excited and proud.
yes, exactly. And I'm so passionate about sociology because
I can
sometimes
tell.
people, thank you. Sometimes people ask me like, "Oh, what are you gonna do with sociology?" Like that's so broad, and it's broad, and that's a beautiful thing because I feel like I'm so versed in so many different aspects and fields.
And I love that you brought up that question. What are you going to do with so and so major? I keep saying this over and over again, but at NCAS-M, like it just opened my eyes to just even what a fraction of NOAA has to offer. So like now when people ask me, what are you going to do with such and such a major? What are you going to do with such and such a major? Like the first thing I think of is like, well, there's probably something I could do here at NOAA. And then
Mm-hmm.
I go into go into other things
Mm-hmm.
because it's it's just a wonderful place, I feel like, to just start and to just expand your horizons and expand like everything that you can do.
It's put me at such a different place now, as a senior. And so I honestly like, yeah, Dr. Adams and Noah, Dr. Mansfield Buddy, they were just so they're just amazing. Everybody connected to Noah is amazing and smart and brilliant. You
Before we close out, I just want to thank you for coming onto this podcast and just giving the audience just a little bit more insight into everything that NCAS-M has to offer.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for asking me to come on. I really appreciate this.
We hope you enjoyed today's conversation and learned something new about NCAS-M. As always, there's a place here for you, and we encourage you to apply at ncas-m.org. Again, that is ncas-m.org. We hope to see you soon. Thank you for tuning in to NCAS-M, students, scientists, and stakeholders. If you liked today's episode, please subscribe and share with your friends.